Welcome to Dare to Listen. Conversations about self-discovery, inner transformations, and our connections with the unseen. I'm so glad you're here. Today's episode features a rancher, a shadow worker, and a person who deeply connects with, we'll see. Hello. So this conversation was gorgeous and long. And I decided to split it up a bit. So we've got part one, where Chrissy and I are exploring shadow work, her time of arriving at being a rancher in Colorado, and her time and experiences with equines, some of mine as well. And then part two, we go into her human design chart and how it is that I can see the weavings of all of the work and fascinations and curiosities and places of exploration Chrissy has gone in her life so far. So, did I forget to say hi? My name is Naomi, and I'm a self-awareness coach, human design analyst, guide, mentor. Thrilled to pull up your chart, work with you, help you integrate the information and support that human design can offer. Some snippets from both part one and part two. Enjoy. Shadow work. I know it, you know it, but do they know it?
And shadow in particular is the parts of ourselves that we ignore, deny, repress. And so why do we do this is because when we're born, we're 360 degrees of pure potential. And given the human experience that you and I have now been talking about for a while, that things happen to us, and it can be, messages that we receive or behaviors from others or trauma. As we're growing up, and we start to get the message that certain part of ourselves is not acceptable in this world. I mean, the little miracles that happened with horses and their clients, and these would be like, at the time they were my horses, and I saw them do things with clients that I'd never seen them do before. Like, who are you? You've never allowed someone to walk up and catch you like that. And yet this 10-year-old little boy could walk up because he wanted to introduce, it was a family therapy, and he wanted to introduce this horse to his family. And he was like, so I'm going to go and catch him and I'll walk him over and I'm going to tell each one of you about this horse. And I remember in my mind, I was like, oh man, like, oh gosh. And that horse stood like a statue, let him put the halter on.
Aww.
And that horse had some trauma of his own. He was very challenging to catch. And and that's just one of so many different stories.
How's that landing for you?
Yeah. It's like, yep, it all really fits. Even to the acute, like, how, like with my husband and I, like how things are said is such a big one. Or if he talks really loud, he's a musician. So I think being in bands for so long, like oftentimes it's like, dude, like take it down a notch. Like, I'm just hypersensitive, hypersensitive to sound.
Yeah.
So it's just amazing to see it show up in that context. And it gives it gives a structure to something that's a truth about me.
And here we go with part one. Here we go. Chrissy's on the screen. Not yet with her face or her voice, but I see some words. Ooh.
Hello.
Hi. This is the air traffic controller look.
Yes, exactly. I know. Yeah. For Christmas, I'm going to ask for some earbuds.
There you go. Hello, everybody. Welcome to the show. On the screen with me here, to my left, to my right, I never know until I see
Yeah.
the recording, is Chrissy. Chrissy, would you like to introduce yourself and share with the audience who you are and how you orient to yourself?
Sure. Chrissy McFarren.
Mm,
I am a first generation rancher.
mm,
My husband and I are the owners, although I like to say we are the land stewards of Badger Creek Ranch.
yeah.
And Badger Creek Ranch is in south central Colorado.
Mm,
It is about 45 minutes outside of Salida. We are ranching at just about 9,000 feet. We're a working ranch. We practice regenerative agriculture.
mm,
We raise grass-fed, grass-finished beef, grass-fed, grass-finished lamb. We
mm.
also do some custom grazing. And another big feature of the ranch is that we are an education center
Uh-huh.
for classes in regards to regenerative agriculture, grazing. We take in interns at our ranch.
Mm,
So they're here with us for the summer and they're learning about ranching.
mm.
And then we are a retreat center as well.
Yeah.
So that's also happening while we're doing ranching. So that's the other aspect of myself is that
Mm,
I am a shadow work facilitator
mm.
and have been since 2006.
Okay. And
Yeah.
I'm curious in hearing um, the origin of your ranching self. What kind of timeline would you give to that? Like birth,
Mm,
5 years
mm,
old, or
yeah.
is there a start? I don't know.
It's interesting. I've always been an animal lover
Mm,
since I was a little girl. My mom has stories of me
mm.
rescuing, birds and squirrels, that sort of thing. I was born in California,
Ah.
and then we moved to the East Coast when I was about 10 years old.
Oh.
I also have amazing memories being with my grandfather
Mm.
up in the Upper Peninsula of Michigan. And
Oh.
my grandfather was a conservation agent. He
Ah.
actually started out being a trapper,
Mm.
back in his early years. And then when conservation districts were created, he was one of the first conservation agents in the state of Michigan,
Okay.
also a taxidermist. And so I spent a lot of time with him and, we'd go out in the woods and he taught me about how to track animals. And so I definitely think that that love and that interest of the wilderness
Mm.
um, and love of animals, wild and domestic.
Mm.
Um, and when I tell this story quite frequently, and people think it's a bit crazy, but when I was 16, I had a deep knowing that I would be out on a ranch in my
Mm.
future life.
Mm-hmm.
And it happened. Happened when I was 50. And I made it. We had a farm back on the East Coast and we're, raising pork and chicken and turkeys and egg, so it got started on the East Coast and then followed the dream to move west and get started into ranching.
Got it.
Yeah.
That's amazing. I love all of the animal variables,
Hmm.
in how you've unpacked that. And I wonder if you would be open to talking about the horse qualities.
Yeah. And that was part of it as well. When I was young, I loved horses.
Mm,
Um, I think it was maybe 7, 8 when I started into riding,
mm,
and stayed with horses my whole life. A lot of times girls have a time in their life where they love horses and then they lose interest. I never lost interest. And, um, and so horses have been part of my life since I was 7.
mm,
Um, and when I was younger and got into riding, I wasn't like the natural thing was writing English and being in shows. And honestly, none of that appealed to me. I was not a competitive person. I didn't enjoy that. So then I got into having horses of my own, just trail riding, connecting with them. And my first marriage ended in divorce, and it was quite a traumatic situation. Ended up with PTSD, and still was with horses all along that time. And I credit horses for keeping me sane, and helping me heal in my nervous system through my connection with them. And it was through that I got interested, and doing my own healing work, that I got interested in equine-assisted growth and learning. So I started down that route, got a few different certifications, and I enjoyed it, and yet it still wasn't it still wasn't quite the right fit for me. So when my husband and I became certified in shadow work, for me, it was like, well, how do I take shadow work, which I absolutely adore, equine healing work that I adore, and that's when I founded Shadow Work Through the Way of the Horse.
Got it.
Yeah, and that was back in 2010.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. I imagine your trajectory and timeline with that anchoring of horse medicine through, again, this timeline, that you've not only navigated your own processes as well as witnessed so many other people in their processes.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. You know, even earlier on when I was doing some of the equine-assisted, and I started out doing like equine-assisted therapy. I'm not a therapist myself, but I worked with therapists. And the little miracles that happened with horses and their clients. And these would be like, at the time, they were my horses. And I saw them do things with clients that I'd never seen them do before. Like, who are you? Like, you've never allowed someone to walk up and catch you like that. And yet this 10-year-old little boy could walk up because he wanted to introduce, it was a family therapy, and he wanted to introduce this horse to his family. And he was like, so I'm going to go and catch him, and I'll walk him over, and I'm going to tell each one of you about this horse. And I remember in my mind, I was like, oh man, like, oh gosh. And that horse stood like a statue, let him put the halter on.
Aww.
And that horse had some trauma of his own. He was very challenging to catch. And and that's just one of so many different stories of watching they're sentient beings. So watching them meet the client where they, right in that moment where they are, and then the pure magic that would unfold for the client. And things that I would just be like jaw dropped. And it was beautiful, beautiful to watch. And I knew this is the work that I want to do, and to create a space where people can come. And the ranch is that space. Like, we're in the middle of nowhere. You truly have to retreat from civilization. We're off the grid, high in the mountains, and our horses live really as close to wild horses. We don't have stables. They've got, their pastures are, 500 acres where they're just out running. And they are a delightful herd. And still today, I witness interactions between participants in our retreat and horses that still bring me to tears. And, I'm just like, wow, there is something so beautiful happening in this moment between these two,
Yeah.
that it is just such an honor to be part of.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's all I can do not to lose myself in the feelings as well.
Yeah.
Like I can feel it.
Yeah.
Um, yeah. Uh, yeah, for some reason I want to share this story that was shared with me. Um, so it was a woman who shared this story with me about um, living in a community where I want to say Tibetan traditions. Do you know this story?
No.
There's a
No.
part in your face where I'm like,
Yeah,
you know
part of
this
me is
story.
like, I'm right with you on that.
So what had happened was there were this herd of horses. So I don't know the quantity, but the way they were living in this center was they could come and go as they needed. There wasn't, restrictions or confinements, those sorts of things. And the teacher at this center passed. So
Mm,
did their death journey, transitioned, and they were in ritual around preparing via the Tibetan cycles or what's a part of their tradition in honoring. It was like a 4-day experience, something like that. I'm not holding all of the details, but the part that stood out to me was she explained that these horses were like off, they would sometimes go and be away for a while. And then, so they were off for a number of days. And then the time, like the apex of the ceremony, the horses all came back. Like,
mhm.
oh, this is time. This is our moment to. I'm not doing the story justice, but as this friend was sharing the story, I'm like, buckets. Like,
Mhm.
just how did they know
Right.
that this was the moment? And
Yeah.
it also reminds me of, and I'm naming these details just to kind of give ourselves a foundation so we're kind of jumping from similar spaces. Have you seen the movie Herd? Herd?
Uh, no, I don't think I have.
It's a documentary. It's about an hour long, and it's about equine-assisted therapy.
Oh, okay. Yeah, actually, I have. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Yep.
Part of the reason why I want to bring the movie in is I see behind you what appears to be a cow herd. Is that or a
Yep.
cow hide? I said the wrong one.
Hide. Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
Um, so in that documentary, there were a cow and a person who were having a snuggle fest. Is the best I can think of it, like a big puppy with this human. And I'm curious to ask you, do you see those types of relationships happening with cows?
Yes. I can say like I've got a few of my yearlings right now, we that have been raised, um, had them since they were born. And this might be a tricky thing for some people is that, they are raised for meat.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and and here's the paradox, right? Like they are friendly. I can come up, pet them, like they're beautiful creatures.
Mm.
And and then they do their giveaway. Like they have this
Yep.
beautiful life with us, stress free.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and then when it's time for processing,
Yeah.
and this is true with with our lambs as well. And a big point that I make is that lambs are not processed when they are little lambs. Like people
Mm.
have a hard time
Ah.
understanding that when lambs go to the processor, they're just under a year old. They're full grown
Mm.
sheep, although they're still considered lambs.
Mm-hmm.
And every time I take a load, I cry.
Yeah.
I do a tobacco offering. I thank
Mm-hmm.
them for their giveaway, and I cry. And I have many friends who are like, I don't get it. You're an animal lover.
Yep.
Like, why aren't you vegan?
Yep.
Doesn't make sense. How can you keep doing this? And I was like, if we as humans are going to have relationship with our food,
Yes.
especially meat,
Yes.
there isn't love there, something is missing. And that honestly is the problem with our industrial food system,
Yes.
is that there isn't like, it's gone way off the rails in regards to how we treat these animals in factory farming.
Totally.
And we need to come back to a way of raising them with love and respect until the day that they go to the processor.
100%.
And our customers in our community who buy our meat know that we raise them with love. And they're like, and they know that actually is part of what they're consuming, right? Like that energy goes full circle.
Yes.
And I don't know. I consider it to be an honor to have these relationships with these animals, knowing, everything dies. It's just that they have a determined day.
Yep.
And then they do their giveaway with their meat to our community, and it lives on in the health of our community. So I accept that I talk about this in different communities, and some people can have a really hard time with that. Yeah. That's okay. That's okay. And so, yes, I think these relationships exist with all animals. And I have a dear friend of mine back in Virginia, and she had this big old, she had a sanctuary actually for beef cattle, and she had a few, and here's the thing, right? She didn't eat meat herself, but she totally supports, like she's one of my best friends, and she not only supports, but donates to what we're doing. And she's like, it's the right way to do it. And I support you. And I don't choose to consume meat. And she had some big old steers at her place. And she had one who was told, like, people would go to spend time with him the same way you do equine therapy. Like they would sit with him and like lay down on him and take naps or meditate. And he was quite the shaman of a steer. He was, and I have such fond memories of him. So yes, I think it's all possible.
Agreed. Well, even, just the animals that people inhabit with, So part of our conversation that, we talked about was looking at human design. And so before I bring up your chart, I want to name a detail as it relates to this human piece. And this is, hey, Chrissy, here's Name. I'm going to tell you a little bit about myself. So in human design, there's one activation that represents 70% of a chart. And so the one for me is called the Gate of Principles and Revolution, or the Rebel. It's an Aquarius activation, but the what I want to bring through is it's also holds Kali energy. If you're familiar with the goddess
I am
Kali.
very familiar.
So it's known. It can have a very butcher quality to it. So it's actually in a stream that's around animal husbandry. So I think that's cool for this conversation. Like, I in the previous iteration of Dare to Listen, hosted a conversation with a woman who did a buffalo hunt in Colorado. And she so beautifully and sacredly talked about, the honoring and the gifting, that was happening. And then, like, again, buckets were happening just in the beauty of it, because this buffalo that they ended up, that was who was being killed in this experience was a mother. So there was a baby inside. And so it was such a beautiful conversation around the realities and the cycles and the interconnectedness that you just so beautifully spoke about. So, and I guess the other data point that I think is interesting for our conversation is, I think I shared with you that before moving to Santa Fe, I was 10 years a farmer. And so that was vegetables. And interesting in the beginning portion of Am I Going to Be a Farmer? My ex and I took Farm Beginnings. Maybe you know Farm Beginnings through the nonprofit Get Farmers Farming kind of
nice.
effort. That's my new phrase that just came through now, but it's basically the business side of farming. So less about the, how do you grow a thing or how do you raise a thing? It's the how do we sustain ourselves as humans while we're doing the thing. So it was called, anyway, I'm not going to remember all the acronyms. The data point I want to bring you to is at my graduation of this, we gave presentations. And as I was giving a presentation, I followed a person who was raising rabbits for meat. And I was just like in such reverence. I was like, how do you do that? Oh my God, how do you do that? And at the time with my ex, we were vegans. That was hard for my body. My body was like, I need more. So I'm not vegetarian or vegan now. But, in my emotional experience with this rabbit rancher, she said, because I said, I don't know that I could do it. I don't know that I could put them on the truck. I don't know that I could do the processing side. I can love, I could love the shit out of them. I could, like make sure all their needs are tended to, but that ending process I perceived could be really hard. And she pointed to me and I can still feel it. She was like, you're exactly the person who should be doing this.
Yep.
So that's my long way of saying, like, I agree with everything you said earlier.
Yeah. When we as humans hit the point where we don't feel anything, when we're taking the life of something that's going to give itself so that we can continue to live and nourish, we've got a problem as a society. And we have that problem now.
Yeah.
We're so disconnected from our food.
Yeah.
And that's a big piece of what I hope to bring in our education to the public when they come to the ranch is to talk about, here's what goes in to bringing you a steak. And it's a lot. And it's a lot of, 24/7 working on the ranch, dealing with drought, wildfires.
Yeah.
There's just so much that goes into it that the public has no idea.
Right.
And so we need to bring that education back. Yes, with, there's so much around like farmers markets and, organic gardening, which is phenomenal. And we need to bring that back to meat as well.
Agreed. Yeah.
So.
Yeah, agreed.
Yeah.
Even just the vet bill.
Oh my gosh.
I imagine it's like
that bill, losing an animal, losing a calf to a bear or a wolf, it's real life. Like we're dealing with life and death on such a daily experience. And that too is something that our society has gotten very distant from just the realities of life and death. And it's unfortunate. I think it's also a reason why we have so many issues that we have as a society, because we're so disconnected.
Yeah. Shadow work. I know it. You know it. But do they know it? Would you like to explain shadow
Talk
work?
A little bit about shadow work?
Please. Yeah.
Yeah. So for myself and how I got interested in shadow work is that I did a women's initiation process that was called Women in Power. And in that work, the crux of the work is shadow work, and the main processes that were done was shadow work. And I watched these processes and in myself thought, I want to learn more about that. Like that is deep healing work. And my husband was also involved in this sort of work. So together we started down the process of getting trained in shadow work. And shadow in particular is the parts of ourselves that we ignore, deny, repress. And these can be aspects of ourselves that some might deem as negative. And these can also be the aspects of ourselves that are the most golden parts of ourselves. And so why do we do this is because when we're born, we're 360 degrees of pure potential. And given the human experience that you and I have now been talking about for a while, that things happen to us, and it can be, messages that we receive or behaviors from others or trauma as we're growing up. And we start to get the message that certain part of ourselves is not acceptable in this world. And so we start to tuck aspects of ourselves, what we say, into shadow. So we guess, like, oop, I can't be that, because if I'm that, I'll be shamed. Or if I'm that, I'll be hurt. So now this beautiful 360 degrees of potential, now we've got like this like little aspect of here's who I am. And sometimes it might be like, well, I can be this part over in my work here. I can be this in my marriage. I can be this here. So we spend so much time and energy managing ourselves and what's acceptable in the world, what's not, that we can find that life becomes exhausting when we're trying to do that. And no matter how hard I might try to keep some aspect of myself, like, for example, anger, trying to keep that in check, that the thought is, we can spend so much time doing that inevitably it's going to leak out. And we'll say, like, does it ever leak out by accident? Absolutely. And when it does, gosh, it looks more like rage than it does anger. And that's because, I've been storing a lot back there for quite some time. And then the little, it kind of sneaks out. And then lo and behold, it's like, whoa, that was a lot more than I expected. So what happens? Then I feel shame about that. And then I tuck it back into shadow. And this can, like I was saying, this can also be the most golden aspects of myself. When I was young, I'm an artist. I'm not a practicing artist, not like sell art, but I am an artist. And when I was younger, I distinctly remember the message from my parents telling me, you can't be an artist. You'll never make money being an artist. Like, don't even think about that. And it worked. Like, I tucked that, like, okay, the artist part of me is not, it's not something I'm going to claim about myself. So because we, either we'll have aspects of ourselves that we're having shadow coming out by accident, or we get into what we call persistent, painful patterns in life. And these patterns are because of our shadows that we are not claiming and not owning. And they start to, it's like, oh my gosh, I find myself in the same relationship, or, oh my God, I'm in the same type of work. How did I get here? Well, our belief is that if we start taking a look at our shadows, meaning we take them out of shadow, bring them out into the light, and take a look at them to find out, I wasn't born with this, so where did this come from? And owning it, claiming it, and then having that ability to harvest from that shadow, like, what can I actually use from this in my life?
Yeah.
Now, we believe that this work needs to be done in a safe container with highly skilled facilitated trainers.
Yeah.
There's a lot, like shadow work has kind of become I don't know, like it's a popular thing that's going around now. And I think it is important to make sure, if you delve into the world of shadow work, to have certified skilled facilitation.
Yeah.
And so that's the work that I've been doing since 2006 and doing with the horses. And so the horses now honestly come in to help facilitate when people are seeing parts of, they either project themselves onto the horses, or the horses help bring out something in them, usually lots of fear, or unworthiness, like you name it, but they bring it to the surface really quickly and then can help participants own it, claim it, and then do the healing they want to do around it. And the horses are just phenomenal facilitators.
Yeah, that's amazing. I was imagining, as you were unpacking that the horses potentially could help that transition into embracing the shadow or pulling the gold from the shadow. I'm reminded, I did here in Santa Fe, I did an equine session where the coach was the equine, so the horse, and the human who was participating or facilitating put like whatever those poles are to create like a sectioned off spaces, and I was like, but I got to move faster and I got to do this and la. And so the horse was kind of hanging out over by a tree, but once I got into the like ooey gooey inner child, the horse was like right behind me, and I was like,
yeah,
because I was telling that like doer side of me, the maybe warrior side of me, looking at shadow work and the different archetypes. I was like, you go over there, I got business to take care of. And the horse was like, but what about this little gem? This little part needs to be a part of this too. And that was a start of me seeing, how can I bring my inner child and that like really juicy center to myself more forward. And it also reminds me of when I did a shadow work weekend. I've done so many shadow work. Shadow work. I know it. You know it. But do they know it? Would you like to explain shadow
Talk
work?
a little bit about shadow work? And,
please. Yeah.
Yeah. So for myself, and how I got interested in shadow work, is that I did a women's initiation process. It was called Women in Power. And in that work, the crux of the work is shadow work, and the main processes that were done was shadow work. And I watched these processes, and in myself thought, I want to learn more about that. Like, that is deep healing work. And shadow in particular is the parts of ourselves that we ignore, deny, repress. And so why do we do this? Is because when we're born, we're 360 degrees of pure potential. And given the human experience that you and I have now been talking about for a while, that things happen to us, and it can be, messages that we receive, or behaviors from others, or trauma, as we're growing up, and we start to get the message that certain part of ourselves is not acceptable in this world. And so we start to tuck aspects of ourselves, what we say, into shadow. So we guess, like, oop, I can't be that, because if I'm that, I'll be shamed. Or if I'm that, I'll be hurt. So now this beautiful 360 degrees of potential, now we've got like this like little aspect of here's who I am. And sometimes it might be like, well, I can be this part over in my work here. I can be this in my marriage. I can be this here. So we spend so much time and energy managing ourselves and you know, what's acceptable in the world, what's not, that that we can find that life becomes exhausting when we're trying to do that. And no matter how hard I might try to keep some aspect of myself, like, for example, anger, trying to keep that in check, that the thought is, you know, we can spend so much time doing that, that inevitably it's going to leak out. And we'll say, like, does it ever leak out by accident? Absolutely. And when it does, gosh, it looks more like rage than it does anger. And that's because, you know, I've been storing a lot back there for quite some time. And then the little, you know, it kind of sneaks out. And then lo and behold, it's like, whoa, that was a lot more than I expected. So what happens? Then I feel shame about that. And then I tuck it back into shadow. And this can, like I was saying, this can also be the most golden aspects of myself. When I was young, I'm an artist. I'm not a practicing artist, you know, not like sell art, but I am an artist. And when I was younger, I distinctly remember the message from my parents telling me, you can't be an artist. You'll never make money being an artist. Like, don't even think about that. And it worked. Like, I tucked that, like, okay, the artist part of me is not, it's not something I'm going to claim about myself. So, so because we, you know, either we'll have aspects of ourself that we're having shadow coming out by accident, or we get into what we call persistent painful patterns in life. And these patterns are because of our shadows that we are not claiming and not owning. And they start to, you know, it's like, oh my gosh, I find myself in the same relationship, or, oh my God, I'm in the same type of work. How did I get here? Well, our belief is that if we start taking a look at our shadows, meaning we take them out of shadow, bring them out into the light, and take a look at them to find out, I wasn't born with this, you know, so where did this come from? And owning it, claiming it, and then having that ability to harvest from that shadow, like, what can I actually use from this in my life? Now, we believe that this work needs to be done in a safe container with highly skilled facilitated trainers. There's a lot, like, shadow work has kind of become I don't know, like, it's a popular thing that's going around now. And I think it is important to make sure, if you delve into the world of shadow work, to you know, have certified skilled facilitation. And so that's the work that I've been doing since 2006 and doing with the horses. And so the horses now honestly come in to help facilitate when people are seeing parts of, they either project themselves onto the horses, or the horses help bring out something in them, usually lots of fear, or you know, unworthiness, like, you name it, but they bring it to the surface really quickly, and then can help participants own it, claim it, and then do the healing they want to do around it. And the horses are just phenomenal facilitators.
Yeah, that's amazing. I was imagining as you were unpacking that the horses potentially could help that transition into embracing the shadow or pulling
Yes.
the gold from the shadow. I'm
Yes.
reminded I did here in Santa Fe, I did an equine session where the coach was the equine, so the
Mm-hmm.
horse, and the human who was participating or facilitating put like whatever those poles are to create
Mm-hmm.
like a sectioned off spaces, and I was like, but I got to move faster and I got to do this and la la la, and so the horse was kind of hanging out over by a tree, but once I got into the like ooey gooey inner child, the horse was
Yep.
like right behind
Yep.
me, and I was like,
Yeah.
because I
Yeah.
was telling that like doer side of me, the maybe warrior side of me, looking at, you know, shadow work and the different archetypes.
Yeah.
Um, I was like, you go over there. I got business to take care of. And the horse was like, but what about this little gem? This
Yeah.
little part needs to be a part of this too. And that was a
Absolutely.
start of me seeing how can I bring my inner child and that like really juicy center to myself more forward. And it also
Yeah.
reminds me of when I did a shadow work weekend. I've done so many shadow work um, containers. So the work that I was doing in the shadow work weekend that I'm referring to or thinking about, we were looking at basically another version of the inner child. Like, why can't the full Name be present? And I had done a similar to what you were describing with the women initiatory weekend, and it was like this idea of a mirror. Like, we're gonna bring the mirror out, and I had tracked enough of these weekend experiences where I was like, the mirror is honesty. I don't know. I don't know if I can do this mirror thing. Stay
Yeah.
over there,
Right.
mirror. And so, so I'm going through this process and being facilitated by two gorgeous women, Rhonda and Becky.
Yep.
Um, and afterwards, I got to the juicy bit of like, oh my gosh, I'm this precious being, that 360 that you were referring to.
Yep.
And I was like, give me that fucking mirror. And I like had I had the tutu on, I had the sparkles on, and I was just
Oh.
in the fullest expression of my rainbows and sunshine,
Mm-hmm.
juicy inner child self.
Mm.
And I was crying as I'm watching myself. And then the other cool part was the people who are around kind of
Mm-hmm.
witnessing that transition of it. Because
Yeah.
I wonder if you want to speak to that detail of when in container work, there's the person who's having the focus, and then there's the group. And
Right.
so, like, the ripples that happen
Yeah.
among all the people who are present. I imagine you as a facilitator are getting some um, interactions or nourishment for yourself
Absolutely.
as well.
Absolutely. I think that the gift of container work
Mm.
is that when we're in this container for this period, it's amazing. Like, say we're together 3 days,
Mm.
and it can feel like we're together for a week. Like, we're
Mm-hmm.
in this healing experience. The bonding that happens in a safe container is absolutely amazing because we're showing the most vulnerable parts of ourselves.
Mm-hmm.
And when we do shadow work, there's opportunity. It's, kind of a gestalt situation where you'll have somebody that will role play for you.
Yeah.
And so they'll step in. It's like, well, we're basically taking the messages that we carry around inside of us,
Yeah.
and then we quote unquote get it out in front of us so we can take a look at it. So it might be like, well, there's a voice in me that tells me I'm never going to mount to anything.
Mm.
Hey, so and so, are you willing to play
Yeah.
that voice? Absolutely. Or not, or they might say no, right? So
Mm-hmm.
you've got people in the container who are playing the messages, the reactions, and so we get to step back with the facilitators to take a look at this whole scene
Yeah.
that lives inside of us. And it's like, oh my God, there it is.
Yeah.
And that's the shift of taking it out of shadow, putting it out in front of us. It's literally like shining a spotlight on it and saying, yep, that is the dynamic that is preventing me from getting what I want in life.
Yeah.
So then what needs to change, right? And so then after we get like, well, this needs to happen, and then we get to run that through in this beautiful symbolic magic space.
Yeah.
And so what happens is not only me doing the piece of work do I get this gift, but the person playing the role or roles, what inevitably happens is when I pick someone, little do I know that they're like, oh, I have that voice in me too, right? Yep. It's the classic thing of, oh my God, I just did my piece of work too because I played that role. Yeah. And then the rest of the container, the group, is watching and, oh my gosh, you are doing my piece of work. Yeah. And so the work happens in so many different ways that we are healing by witnessing, by playing a role, or by being the one who steps out to say, I want to take a look at this dynamic that is preventing me from moving forward in my life, or for loving myself, or fill in the blank. Yeah. And the same thing is true in these containers when we work with horses, is that I could watch somebody do their work, their trauma work with a horse, and I can look around and every single woman is sobbing. Yep. You know, because in that moment, it's like, she is me and I am her. Yeah. And so that interconnectedness between all of us, when we bring that much intentionality to it, the healing is, like you said, the ripple effect. It's incredible. It's absolutely incredible. And I often think too, for horses, horses see right through our layers, right? So that warrior layer of yours, which makes sense because the warrior wants to protect the vulnerable little one, right? It's like, we're going to go do this, this, and this, because I'm not going to let you get vulnerable. Yep. And so, but meanwhile, the horse is like, yeah, I don't buy that warrior part of you. Like the horse sees right through our falseness, and they see into our souls. They have to for survival, because horses are prey animals and we're predators. And so they have that ability to kind of zero right in. What kind of human is this? And so I think when we get to our true hearts and our authentic self, that horse is like, there you are. I can trust that. Yeah. And that's when they want to spend time with us. Yeah. They don't want to spend time with the ego and all those other, which I get, of course. So, right. Or they might, I'll go do my job and we'll go do this. But when they really want to connect on that deep level, I believe it's like when we're able to access our true authentic self, it's like, then the magic happens. Yeah. So I love the story you shared. It was a great example.
I have so many stories. Well, and the other piece I wanted to weave in is I've found when I say yes to a container, it starts.
Yep.
And also when I'm sleeping during the days, so the second big major shadow work container I did was where I was going to move into, do I want to be a facilitator? So it was like the first process of that. And so at the end of the week, we were each going to be facilitated by other students, etc. Maybe my warrior spike self was like, but it was really interesting because having had the experience of starting my personal development work with women-only container, or people who identified as women, this happened to be a version that was all genders, container. And I was like, oh, I don't know. And then there was a part of me that could see the fear. And there was another part of me that was like, well, maybe. So what was interesting is as I knew that the moment was going to happen where I was going to be the one, energetically naked and vulnerable and being seen by the group, the nights before, I started basically crafting the shadow work process for myself. Yep. And so, like, I can feel the experience now, and this was 12, maybe more years ago. And it was like I was living the dream, like how if you remember a dream, etc. But I was half asleep, half awake. And then I moved into facility because I needed to reconcile in myself, because that controlling warrior self was like, wait a minute, these check boxes need to happen. And where I wanted to get to was really address that inner child fear around sex trauma, around people who identify as men. And so there was a part of my higher self, my inner truth, that was like, you've got a beautiful opportunity with these beautiful beings to be held and maybe work on this. But I needed to also reconcile that the structure of this container is not, Name, go facilitate yourself. It was, I needed to be facilitated by the other person. So the short of it that I want to say is that I think the times between, in Women Within, I would remember the term as carpet work. Like when you were in the space and the focus was on you. It's like having a meal, taking a shower, doing all these in-betweens, I think is also a part of the container, which what I'm wanting to tether is also to how beautiful it is, the offerings that you host at your spaces. Because to me, it's not like you're going to a hotel. You're going to a space that can hold the totality of it all, and you can stay in that container instead of, getting into a car after you've opened all those insides. Yeah.
I agree. And for, so much of personal development work does happen inside whether, like you said, whether it's, I don't know, retreat center, hotels, but, and here it is a sense that there's a pilgrimage that happens in that it takes something to, so you can leave society, maybe it's an airport, and then you're a rental car, and then you leave the paved road. Now you're on a gravel road, and you're working your way through the mountains. And, people have described where they're just already starting to like, my nervous system is relaxing. And then arriving here where we spend most of our time outside. And the land, this ranch is on sacred land, and this is the homeland of the Ute, the Hickory, Apache, Arapaho, Comanche. And I don't take that lightly. Like, my role as a steward of this land is to make sure that respect and honor is being given, that this is not our land. This is their land. And there has certainly been a sense of like a full circle process, knowing that the healing that like there's magical things that happen here that I believe there's some, in the way that we give back with regenerative agriculture, like it just feels like the energy is giving to people who come and they find great magic and healing. And then we give back to taking care of the ecosystem here and everybody that calls this place home. It's like, how do we make sure that we're doing the best that we can to steward it in a good way? And so I think the fact that, there's there's a buffalo jump here just
Mm.
before you arrive on
Yeah.
our lease. And so, we have an opportunity to go and be on some very sacred sites on this land.
Mm.
And then to be with the horses in the way in which that happens. So I think and then you've got shadow work.
Mm-hmm.
So it's this beautiful layering
Yeah.
that's happening here on the land, which is unique to our offerings.
Mm-hmm.
And, shadow work weekends that happen, at a
Mm.
Airbnb or retreat center, absolutely gorgeous. Like it
Sure.
doesn't diminish the beauty of them. This offers something more that can, in my judgment, can be felt in the body
Yeah.
and be anchored in the body. And for myself, I'm a trauma survivor. And so I've spent my lifetime working on my trauma inside of me, and those horses have
Mm.
been part of it, and nature has been part of
Yep.
it. And it's important for me to be able to do that work in my nervous system.
Yeah.
And I think that happens here. And we have seen, not just with the horses, we've seen things happen here that, like, everyone in the container's like, what's happening?
Yeah.
So now we have a tagline that's now developed at every retreat, which is, "You can't make this shit up."
No, I know. I know.
This is, and it continues, like you said, the time like leading up where people will talk about dreams that are happening, but then like when they leave,
Yep.
they're sharing with the group like, "Oh my gosh, then this happened, and then this happened," and everybody is like throwing into the continued ongoing container
Right.
of the things that don't make sense in our tangible world, but they sure make sense in the magical world. But I
Yeah.
think when we come here, we align
Mm-hmm.
and we all start to tap into something far greater than ourselves.
Yeah.
And that is, that's what we all need to be doing.
Yeah. Well, and as you were speaking about the land, I was getting this message or thought of like the land wants purpose too.
Yes,
So
yes, yes,
to have that continued with you in such a reverent way, and
yeah,
all I imagine, the community that is Badger Creek, and that your co-facilitators, etc., and like the
yeah,
history of the land. Like, I think when we were having our like get to know ya, hey, I'm Name, hey, I'm Chrissy conversation,
yeah,
or to deepen into more of that, I was talking with you about family constellations,
yeah,
and I'm hearing a lot of similarities, and to the point of the land wants, it is a part of the experience as well. I've been in containers where we focused on a house and how the house is struggling, and it's
mm,
because an origin of where the house
mm,
is situated on hasn't
yeah,
been healed and loved up and addressed. And so
interesting.
the land's like, foundation, I got you, crack, crack, crack,
Yeah,
etc. So there's so many layers to it. And what I also want to highlight and point to is, the ripples after the container, or I don't know why I did quotes, but the retreat finishes, or the weekend finishes. I also wonder if it's so much of that alignment and that centering of like, oh, I'm open and interested to see this now. And
yes.
all of the mystical, all of the beyond is like, I got you. We're going to look at this. I'm going to offer this. And there's that ripening that's in the body to catch it.
Yes, I agree. I think it's there all the time.
Mm-hmm.
It's there all the time. We are missing it. But look at the world we live in. Like, we are just so overstimulated with way too much, and distracted and anxious and fill in the blank.
Yeah.
And we need to retreat
Mm.
somewhere to kind of reconnect with all the magic, and then remember, like, oh right, it's always all around us.
Yeah.
And it's our job to kind of find ways to
Mm-hmm.
have boundaries with all of the craziness in our world so that we can stay connected with the magic.
Totally. Yeah. Okay, we'll see you over at part 2 of this 2-parter conversation with Chrissy McFarren of Badger Creek Ranch. See you on the next one.